And we're back. You're listening to the Exitology Unlock Your Profits, Unlock Your Potential show. I'm your host, Jason Wally Waldron, and I apologize if we had any technical difficulties out there to those listening to us live, but we are back here with Rex Wisehart, who is not just the grand poobah of small and medium-sized business turnarounds, but also a gentleman who is going to give it to you straight and really, if you're screwing up, he's going to tell you. And so we talked a little bit a few minutes ago about Rex's origin story and really brought into some really interesting things in terms of the importance of mindset and just facing stuff head on. But Rex, I want to switch our conversation slightly here into more of the startup type of things, because you've worked with people who are starting a business, you've worked with people who are scaling a business, you've worked with people who have exited businesses. So we're gonna kind of take it all at once. And I'm gonna frame our conversation a little bit differently than we might with some other people. And I want to ask you, if there is one mistake that you see people starting up businesses make over and over and over again, and for their benefit, you would like to call that out to them and help them not make that mistake again, or in other words, say, I wouldn't do that, what would that be?
The wrong team.
The wrong team. Tell me about that.
Way too often when people are starting businesses, I'm getting lots of feedback.
Yeah, you're going to want to probably mute me out on your Google Meet there. Sorry, folks. That's what we do with live radio. It's part of the adventure.
How's that?
It's good on my side. Is it good on yours?
Try again.
Yep, I'm here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just remove your face from the call, and you're here just on phone, like in the old days.
Yeah.
All right, so that should fix it, Rex. Go ahead. So we were asking about the biggest mistake that people make in startups, and you said they choose the wrong team.
It's easy to have your relatives in your new business. It's easy to have your buddies in your new business. And pretty much that's always a bad idea.
Oh, okay.
Let's assume you're going to have 3 partners in a company.
Yep.
What you want is 3 people with different mindsets and different skill sets. To form a partnership, you don't want your clone, you want the opposite of your clone. You want the person that does things in ways that you can't or won't. And if you get a good team together to start your business, you have a high probability of success. And if you get a bad team to start your business, you have very little probability of success.
Yeah. So what would you say to folks? Because you know me for the last 10 or 15 years, and you've seen me have build good teams. You've seen me build bad teams. You've seen me get involved in a startup with someone who was probably too close, right? In terms of kind of the friends and family round, right? And so I say this to our audience to, this is something that I've gone through, and I know what Rex is talking about. But what do you say to the person who says, look, these are the people that I can find to help me get off the ground? Are they not thinking big enough? Are they not trying hard enough to really find the right people, the right roles on the bus? People step into this mistake, but what if they're pushing back? What would you say to them?
I would, first of all, you ask 2 questions there.
Right.
You ask a partner's questions and a worker's question. Partner's question is vital, and you can't mess with it. You've got to get it right. The worker's question is, it's hard to find people to go to work in a startup because they're not going to be making as much money. They're going to be working 70-hour weeks. It's hard. It's scary. And there aren't many people that have the whatever it is that you need to go do that. So if you're in a startup mode, you hire anybody that will go to work for you and hope they work out. And if they don't work out, you hire fast and you fire fast.
Okay. So there's actually 2 levels to it. I'm glad you pointed that out, because so we almost have to go in with eyes wide open is what you're inviting people to do. Right.
Yes.
and so know that on the workers level, you're probably going to have to churn through a number of people, especially at the beginning, because of all those reasons. But what I heard you say on the partners level and the founding level, if you don't build that foundation correctly, you're going to collapse. You didn't say those words, but that's kind of what I was hearing you say.
I thought I said those words, but if I didn't, you got it right.
So tell us about yeah, you've seen a lot of these. Let's hear a business story where everything collapsed and why, and let's hear one where everything was set up right and how it ended up good.
I can tell you dozens of those. There is a nationwide sandwich chain that raised an enormous amount of money when sort of sub sandwiches became an item 30 years ago, 35 years ago, 40 years ago. But anyway, it was made up of the worst combination that you could ever have in terms of the management structure and ownership.
Okay.
It was early in the game, so they were able to raise a lot of money, and they put up hundreds of sandwich shops around the country. And 5 years later, I got a phone call. Didn't know a soul at the company. 5 years later, I got a phone call on a Tuesday afternoon. We're not going to be able to make payroll on Friday. We hear you're a turnaround guy. What can you do to help?
Oh, and at that point, you're sitting there saying, here we go. I have a reputation now, right?
I do have a reputation, and it's one that I protected greatly. Among other things, I killed stories about me and turnarounds in Wall Street Journal, Business Week, Bloomberg, and a bunch of other places. And the reason that I did that was, one, I didn't have any need to be famous in between my ears, but more important, if people didn't know who I was, and I was relatively sophisticated at that stuff, that I found that they didn't work as hard as if they were going against some guy who had a reputation. So I made sure I had none.
Very.
And that served me very well, because I swear the other side didn't work as hard as they should have before we went to war.
I see. Very, very cool. And so you get a call on Tuesday, and a national chain is going to run out of payroll money and not make it on Friday. How exactly did you go about working on that situation?
I went to people that I didn't want to know whose names they were, and got them cash for that payroll and the next two. And then we went to work on a real turnaround.
Wow. So essentially you put out the fire, so that you could have a chance to rebuild. And how'd the rest of the story turn out?
That chain now has something like 3,700 stores around the country. And they're doing okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very well. Congratulations. That's really cool. So what I think is interesting about that story is it turned into a turnaround story, but the root cause was starting on a foundation that was essentially incorrect, or I don't know if you
it had no hope.
Yeah, there you go.
With the original founders, it had no hope.
Oh,
we
man.
had to throw out two of the three original founders, and that's what we did.
You answered the next question I was going to ask, which was how many people actually made it to the next round, and there you go. 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 aren't there for the next round.
Yep.
So, if that's what have you seen? And I know you're in the turnaround space, so of course you're going to have more juicy stories about people doing this wrong. But if we were to invert, right, if you've seen, say, 30 startup companies that were formed the wrong way, but you were to invert all of those and kind of posit what you think a good startup company foundation would look like, how would you articulate that?
Let me tell you about a success story. Maybe that'll be a good answer to your question.
Yeah.
There's something that most people don't know anything about. And it's a government program called Small Business Innovative Research.
Okay.
And the SBIR program is for bleeding edge stuff. And 2% of department budgets that are in the SBIR program, and SBIR is part of the Small Business Administration, have to spend 2% of their spend on highly innovative things.
Okay.
So there's a big industry around the country that most people don't know anything about. That's a bunch of PhD run technology companies that are inventing very cool stuff that people like DARPA and Department of Health and Human Services need and use and pay for.
Okay.
And those companies are almost always, the CEO is a PhD of some sort. And then the really smart CEOs stop the PhDs there and go get some real people with real minds that know how to do stuff.
Okay, so Rex, you're setting that up. We got about 30 seconds before we have to take a break. So why don't we hear kind of the rest of that setup, and we'll continue this on the other side of our commercial break.
Okay.
So you've got the PhDs, you got this other stuff. What's the rest of that business? Give it to me in about 20 seconds.
Hire great technology people that will take the lead of winning the bids from DARPA or whomever.
Okay.
And 2, people who can actually do the work versus the theoretical types that the PhDs tend to be.
Beautiful. All right, folks. With that, we're going to take a short 2-minute break here, and we will be right back with Rex Wisehart. You can always go to exitologybook.com. Give us your name, email, and all the rest of the good stuff. We'll send you the first chapter of Exitology, and if you like what you see, you'll have a chance to continue the journey with us. We'll be right back after the short 2-minute break.